Hello and welcome to the Konvergent Video Series for the week of July 6th. We hope you had a wonderful Independence Day weekend. I got to spend some time with some close family and friends and hope that if you were able to, that you got to do that as well and have a chance to celebrate. So with that, let's jump into the top three things for the video this week. First, the market was up about 4% on the week last week with a lot of mixed headlines that we'll get into later in the video. On the unemployment front, there was a lot of fireworks last week around the June unemployment report that was released, showing some job growth as well as a lowering of the unemployment rate. And finally, we'll touch on some unemployment data, but really looking ahead to what we expect in the coming month. So on the S&P for the week, it was up about 4%, as we mentioned. A lot of that was driven early in the week by some headlines around some positive news on a COVID vaccine, and then later in the week really was around the unemployment data. So what was ignored for the week, though, really seemed to me was early the week before we had a lot of COVID headlines that were driving the markets lower. Last week, those were pretty much ignored. So the market pretty much went straight up, focusing on the good news, ignoring the bad. And so we'll need to see, will that continue in the weeks ahead? On the unemployment front, a lot of news to cover last week. So we'll touch on the weekly data first. First, the new unemployment claims continue to come in around 1.5 million a week. So last week it was just over 1.4 million, but you'll see from the chart, it's continued to hold steady in this 1.4 to 1.5 million range. On the continuing claims, similar story. That range continues to be around 19 to 20 million. So that number came in just over 19 million last week. So the new and continuing claims both came in slightly lower than they were previous weeks. But if we look at total unemployment, that number has actually crept above 31 million. So if you look at all programs over the last couple of weeks, we've actually seen an increase in total unemployment claims. But really the focus last week was on the June unemployment numbers. So the monthly numbers were released and we saw an increase in about 5 million new jobs created in the month of June. And we saw the unemployment rate come down to about 11%. So on the video last month related to this, we talked about how some of the numbers, we're not really confident in how they're reporting some of the numbers, but this is a positive sign to see these numbers coming in the way they are. However, this report also was done in the middle of June, or the survey was done in the middle of June for this, which was before some of the increased coronavirus shutdowns started to happen late in the month of June. So we'll have to see how that impacts the number in the next month. On the economic data front, it was a pretty slow week for economic data as we went into the 4th of July weekend. But one area that had some positive news was the manufacturing index. So that number actually rose above 50, which shows growth. So that's a positive sign. And we hope to see those kind of numbers continue. But again, with COVID concerns and additional shutdowns, we'll have to see if those kind of numbers can be sustained. So bottom line, what's coming up? We've talked for the last number of weeks how important July is going to be. There's a lot of information coming out really around corporate earnings, not only what happened last quarter, but really most importantly, what do they see coming ahead? We're going to see what happens with these various stimulus programs. So what's going to happen once these PPP loan funds have run out? What happens if and when these extended unemployment insurance dollars run out? So we'll have to see what happens in Congress and whether those programs will be renewed going forward to continue to provide liquidity to individuals and to the market. So with that, that's really what we're watching here in the coming weeks. As always, if you have questions on your individual situation, please feel free to reach out at any time. But other than that, we hope you have a great week, and we'll look forward to talking with you soon.